the Indianapolis Colts called Phillip Rivers toward the end of the season.
Yes, sir.
Phillip ain't played in...
What a laugh.
Phillip ain't played in a minute.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
I know where this is going.
Well, first off, let me ask you, were you offended that you didn't get the call?
I was not offended because I understood the relationship. Now, did I go outside and, throw the football around a little bit? Wait, just in case? Yes, sir, I did.
Now, if they really would have called you,
yes.
Hey, you ready? We need you to come play week 16.
Correct.
Do you think you could have been ready to go?
100%. I'm 35, so I'm not as old as Phillip is. He's what, 44?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives me hope. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw him, I'm like, man, I might have to just lightly,
his whole body changed, bro.
He came in overweight. Let's just call it what it was.
Yeah.
Hey, my man was big. The reporter asked him how much he weighed. He said, "Well, I'm not weighing what I did when I left."
Clearly.
So it gave me hope. I got a good 8 more years. They might call me up.
What's up, everybody? I'm Peanut Tillman, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. And with me, as always, my trusty co-host, Roman Harper.
I'm just glad we're wearing blue together today. This is the first time I think we've ever matched. And there's no better time to do it than who our next guest is, because I think he's got a little blue on too today.
A little blue. I'm just glad I'm not seeing you guys on the football field anymore.
This next guest, we go way back. From the same hometown, Copper's Cove, Texas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's small world. Okay.
Copper's Cove, Texas on the map. Bulldogs. He's a Heisman Trophy winner out of Baylor. Second overall pick in the 2012 draft. He's a Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's a podcaster. He's a broadcaster. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the pod, Robert Griffin III.
Better known as RG3.
Better known as RG3.
First of all right, the nickname, was that self-given? When did it kind of evolve? Because the first time I heard of you, this is all I've heard of you and known you as.
No, this is a great story because, Peanut here, was a legend in our town, still is a legend in our town.
Nice.
I like to say I'm from the same town as Charles Tillman is.
Okay.
So when he came to 8th grade, I was in 8th grade, he came to play basketball with us. Our 7th grade team was undefeated in basketball, so we thought we were, we had it popping. He came to play basketball with us, and that moment changed my life forever because when I made it, I said, when I make it, I'm going to make sure I do exactly what Peanut did by coming back and showing the kids that you can make it out of a small town.
Yeah. Being
a military kid and all that. So when he came to see us, I wasn't RG3. I was Robbie. I was Roberto. Some people called me RLG3 because my middle name is Lee. But when I got to college, the announcer, when I first went on the field, I was the backup for 2 quarters my freshman year. I hit a step back on the sideline, a la Reggie Bush on one of the runs, and he said, "Oh, RG3 on the sideline."
And that was
it took off. After that, it took off. I was RG3 from that moment on, and I'm not mad about it because it's my initials.
Yeah, it sticks. That's cool though, Peanut. I didn't know that, man. Look at you. Going back, giving back to the kids.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach Gistor.
There you go.
Gistor was my college roommate. He's the godfather to my kids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you look, I always tell people, when you go back and speak to kids or talk to people, everybody thinks it's not about trying to affect the 1,000 kids or the 800, 500, 200 kids you're talking to. It's really about affecting that one. You never know who it's going to be.
Never know.
And there's no way you would have known that you had Robert or RLG or Roberto or whatever, Robbie in that PE class when you actually went out there and played. So that's a cool story. So I appreciate you sharing that.
No, the even funnier part about that was I didn't know Peanut was from Copper's Cove. I was a transplant. I'd only been in Cove for a few years. So I used to play Madden. I used to look at guys with dreads because I wanted long hair. My parents wouldn't let me have long hair. So I used to put Peanut on every team that I played on in Madden because he had dreads. So then when he showed up that day to play basketball with us, I was like, wait, you from here? It just seemed like God had a weird way of connecting us all over all these years. And he's shown me a lot about how you give back the right way. So I always show you that love whenever I see you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean it. It comes from the heart.
Thank you.
Man,
Appreciate
that's
it.
awesome, dude. Okay, so
Goals. Let's talk about some.
Yeah.
Is announcing a Super Bowl a goal of yours?
Yes. 100%.
100%.
I believe this is what God's called me to do. When I was out of the league in 2017, I worked out. I did everything I was supposed to. And, my wife, I'm on the track running 400 hurdle build-ups. You run 1, come back, run 2, all the way through 10. I'm laid out after the workout. She said, why are you doing this? And I said, well, it's because I believe God's called me for a higher calling. So if I'm going to get that call, I'm going to make sure I'm ready. What does hurdles have to do with playing quarterback? Nothing, but it's overcoming adversity. And it's what I had done to get to that point in the first place. So when I got that call in February 2018 from the Baltimore Ravens, I was ready to go. And I was able to prolong my career by 3 years and be a mentor to Lamar Jackson. If I didn't run those hurdles on that track, I wouldn't have been able to get there. So when I look at broadcasting, it's something I never wanted to do. But I did a tryout or, audition with Fox and then ESPN. And the reaction from those auditions let me know, like, maybe this is what God's called me to do, to continue to give back to the game in a bigger way where we can do this for 50 years and our bodies won't deteriorate.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we try to do something, we learned this from the military, we want to be the best at it.
Right.
And to me, sometimes the best don't always get to the top to call the Super Bowl, but I believe that's what God's called me to do. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to work in that direction.
What's been like your hardest welcome to the media moment that you've had while broadcasting?
Ooh. Everything ain't funny, like I mean, everything ain't funny. And
you up there got a little comfortable.
You get comfortable and you realize like, that was too much. And then there's other moments where you're not. I'll even go and say it, the moment this summer with Angel Reese, you realize like you might be well-intentioned and you might be stating a fact, but the way that can be not even misconstrued, but weaponized is something that you have to be aware of.
Right.
And how you react in those moments will determine what your future in the business is. So when there was a negative reaction to a fact that I was talking about with Angel Reese that was sourced and well-sourced, I didn't just say, okay, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I just said, maybe that's a conversation I just don't need to be in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not where I need to go because that's not who I'm trying to be. So I removed myself from that discourse around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese because it was being weaponized against Angel Reese. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I'm not trying to be the villain in anybody's story. And people who know me know my heart, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So I think that was my biggest wake up moment. Even though you're telling the truth, sometimes you got to know what conversations to be in and when to remove yourself from those conversations.
First of all, that was a great point because that really blew up because of you hitting a retweet and really pointing out something that was said
that was
somebody else. That was wrong.
That was wrong.
And then the fact that you did it, they said you're using your platform. They wouldn't even have been seen if you didn't do this, right? So
correct.
That's maturity by realizing, like, you know what? I actually thought I was doing the right thing, but it actually got more attention because of that.
Correct.
And so recognizing that, said, you know what? Maybe I should just remove myself from the whole situation because this thing's going sideways. It's not even where I had it going.
Because there was so much more to that conversation than what I was talking about.
Yes.
Right?
It started here and then it went.
And then it went, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, listen, I'm trying to do the right thing. Now you got this going on, that going on. And you know, this is mature men. Like sometimes you just, that's not what I meant or and sometimes it doesn't help because once the narrative is gone, it's gone. Mm-hmm. So listen, I love my family. I know what it's like to be in the limelight and I know when things get misconstrued. And sometimes when you fight back against those things, it just makes it worse. So you have to remove yourself from those moments. And I think that takes a lot of maturity and understanding despite being misunderstood.
Is that hard for you though? Because you have an opinion, you're a very opinionated guy.
Correct.
So when someone says, I mean, you speak on something and then all these negative comments come your way.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not what I meant, but I want to say something. But I know if I say something, I'm going to make it worse.
Right.
I just got to Is that hard? Is that hard for you?
I think what you have to do is, in the moment, you have to address it. Boom, something said, immediately address it, move on. That way, whatever you meant and what you said in that moment is there for people to look at. And then if they choose not to look at it, they were always meant to misunderstand you. I think some of the mistakes that happen is guys they keep talking about it for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks, and then it just snowballs on you. But it's difficult because everybody wants to always be right, but we all want to be viewed in the way that we meant it to be. And I think for me, you just have to, over the years, I'm 35 now, about to be 36. You have to understand when it's time to just say, all right, well, that's not what I meant. I said that's not what I meant. And the people who are always going to try to misunderstand you will always try to misunderstand you. And you just keep on going.
Okay, because I was going to ask you about how your comfort level has changed inside the booth. And you got me on this other topic because I actually applaud your maturity as well. So it's the same thing. It's like your comfort, your maturity. I guess you can talk about that as you've grown in this game as an announcer to kind of let us know where you at, where you stand. But I'd also want to know who's your like dream like co-pilot in the booth, like because that's a thing as well. Like you work with Fox. Yeah. I love Stevie Johnson, right? Like guys like loud, but I don't know if you two would be great together because ultimately who's like, it's his show. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's his show. And so you're going to have your own thing. I don't know how we're going in the booth. So I would love to know your opinion because ultimately they're always trying to make sure they're putting on production too. And you understand that as well now that you've been on this side of it.
I knew you mean Gus Johnson.
Yeah, Gus sorry.
Johnson.
I don't know. Stevie's a wide receiver.
Stevie's a receiver.
Yeah.
You having flashbacks.
Yeah. Stevie's a receiver.
Stevie could route you up.
I appreciate that.
No, but Gus Johnson, you know, Gus is incredible. Right now, I work with Jason Benetti. Jason Benetti is smart, whimsical. He understands my humor. I understand his humor. Cultural references, like we love Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. So like we're all over the gambit when it comes to that type of stuff. But I believe, you know, part of what makes us unique as guys from Copper's Cove, Texas, is the ability to live in any ecosystem. You know, I grew up in the projects in New Orleans, Louisiana. You know, I grew up in the countryside of Copper's Cove, Texas. I grew up never was a suburbs kid, but small town in Olympia, Washington. So I believe I can work with anybody at the highest level. So if it happened to be Gus Johnson and it is his show, and like I feel like I could find my role in that. I think the best teammates make it their show. It's our show together. It's not just the play-by-play. It's not just the color analysts. And I think that's the ones that the fans fall in love with the most. So, you know, I admire a lot of the guys at the top. You know, got a chance to work at ESPN and actually sit next to Joe Buck when he was on Monday Night Countdown. And him and Troy, they do a great job. They feed off each other. It's not one guy's show. It's everybody's show together. And so for me, I think where I've matured the most in the booth is understanding when to pick your moments. Yeah. Like it can be fun. It's not comedy hour at the Apollo, right? It's not the improv show. You call the game, you talk about what's going on, and you give the fans what they want to hear. I want them to feel like they're just knocking back a couple beers with their friends at the bar. And we're talking football. You're going to learn a little bit. And I might not be partaking in the drinking, but you're going to laugh. You're going to have a good time. You'll be like, man, I didn't know that. I didn't see that the way that he saw that. And that's what makes it fun for me, is continuing to teach the game while also having fun.
Was that hard to learn?
Honestly, it wasn't. I think some guys struggle when they get into the booth because they overthink it. Yeah. And being able to explain something extremely complex in a very simple way, I think some guys struggle with. And thankful to God, that wasn't something that I struggled with. I got in the booth and it just felt like home to me.
Did you ever go to one of the broadcast boot camps?
I did not.
You did not?
I'm sorry.
So it's fine. When you called a game, was that your first time ever calling it?
First time ever. They threw me in the booth. My producer at the time was a guy by the name of Kim Belton, played basketball up at Stanford, been in the business for 40 plus years. He sat me down a couple of weeks before the game, said, hey, this is kind of how it goes. This is the talk back. This is the cough button. Here's your telestrator. Boom, go get it. I called a HBCU game, was my first game ever.
Okay.
And then I was calling Houston, a Houston game, my second game. And by the third game, it was clockwork. Mark Jones was my play-by-play. You know, extremely big basketball guys called NBA Finals matchups before, and we just were off and rolling. And I think part of not going to the broadcast boot camp, I think is very beneficial for a lot of guys, finding your cameras and doing all those things. It wasn't that I didn't need it. They just threw me in the fire so quickly. I was on College Game Day the first week of the season, and I'm looking at Kirk Herbstreit and, you know, Reese Davis and Desmond, and no one told me, hey, look at this camera. This is your camera. I'm just watching them look at cameras. And I'm like, okay, I think that's my camera right there. So when they talk, they look at me, then they look over there, and you just learn it on the fly. So I think the boot camp is helpful for a lot of guys, but I think I've been so successful because I just kind of went in and got thrown in the fire.
It's a difference between being in the booth and then being on a set. Completely different feel, completely different control. The way you have to go from talking, we want it to be natural as a conversation, but then when I want to land my point, I want to make sure I look at this camera here and deliver it and be able to just draw it back in with your eyes, because looking in the eyes is how you really open up and tell the story to the viewers. And so when you're in the booth, they don't see you all the time. You know, you see a Greg Olsen with his tie, you know, just undone a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like
hair all over the place.
Yeah, like it's different. It's like, because you're not worried about that. It comes back to you from time to time, but you get a lot more comfortable. It's a lot different feeling vibe. You got people all around you. You got your pointers, the guys pointing out which number. It's a lot of assistance as well, the same way you do on camera as well for a set, but the feeling vibe's a completely different thing. And I love that you have been able to find your way and get a lot more comfortable instead of, you know, because it's hard to be thrown to a fire with a show that's been on for 30 years and it's a dinosaur. And the way they do things is like really how hard constructed how they do things. Let me get in my booth where I get it just one-on-one and we can go make this thing a party. And so you flourished in that role.
No, I appreciate that. And, you know, you talk about the difference between the two. It's also like the time you have, right? So when I was on Monday Night Countdown and I'm sitting up there with Susie Colbert, legend, Steve Young, Booger McFarlane was on there. He's called Monday night games.
Yeah.
And you got Adam Schefter. It's like these people are already established. And then you come in, they're like, hey, we want you to be the energy. We want you to, you know, get the younger guys in there. And like, it was so beautiful having that set because there was no competing interest. The only interest was making the show the best it could be.
Yeah.
And that was the year that we were nominated for an Emmy. And it was because of them. It wasn't because of me. They allowed me, you guys know this, having great teammates allows you to be great.
Yeah.
And in that realm, it was like, hey, who's going to go first on this quarterback discussion? I mean, Steve Young's going to go first. What you mean? And whatever Steve doesn't say or misses, boom, here I am. I'm the good teammate. You come in, you got the younger voice. But those are like 30, 45 second clips.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're in the booth, oh, it's you. And if you don't have an angle to talk about the game, to present the game, to teach the game, a lot of guys struggle because they sit there in this dead space. Sometimes not talking can be great, but we saw that even with our guy Tom Brady in his first year. It's like he got so much information that you want to say. When do you say it? And I've seen his maturation this past season of how he got better at that.
Yep.
And I mean, I was not shocked that the GOAT figured it out. You know what I mean? But it is difficult for some guys when they first get in there. And we have seen some guys completely bomb when you thought like, this guy knows a lot about ball. He would be great.
I was a bomber. I bombed. Didn't do no boot camps, no nothing. I got a call. They're like, hey, the Bears are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. I forget the name of the company, whatever, but they want you to do the color commentary radio. I said, okay. Just so you know, I have never called a game. I'm just never. Get there, I got all my notes, and I see a guy, Jay Bell. I hit up Jay Bell. He gives me the list, the Xerox, the big paper with the laminated paper, whatever. So I'm looking at this thing.
Push your board. Yep.
First play goes, it's like a power O or lead weak. Nothing sexy. Got like maybe 2 yards. Guy says whatever he says, and he looks at me, and I was like.
What am I supposed to say about that?
It's like, hit that call button. I get the next one. I was like, damn, I messed up. I bombed that thing. I was like, So yeah, I just was like, damn, what do I say on a 2-yard run? Like it was not sexy. It wasn't.
Yep.
I didn't have anyone to help me. I just was like, I got to figure this thing out. So by the end of 3 hours of the game, I had to figure out, okay, I got 15 seconds to explain this play in great detail because it's on radio.
Correct.
So you gotta visually describe it as well.
Yeah, you got to visually stimulate the person who's listening.
Because my dumb ass was like, hey, look, why would he just go right there? And he can clearly make the tackle.
Right there. You can go to the C guy.
Just go to
Everything has to be just a little bit more. Yeah.
And I figured it out live, but I figured it out on the fly.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy the other day, and he was like, yeah, man, we'd love to have you back again. I saw the producer, and I was like,
you sure?
Seriously? I was like, all right, I'll do it again. I ain't no quitter now.
Yeah.
I ain't no quitter. I'll make that thing work.
And Roman, you know this, like when you go from a TV set, like there's always action.
Yeah.
It's a highlight that you put together, a tape you put together to describe a quarterback, a safety, a blitz package, whatever it may be. So
it's a rundown.
There's always
it's a rundown.
There's always something that you know you got in the booth. When I see that 2-yard run, I ain't gonna lie to you, Pina. I'm not describing that 2-yard run on TV. I'm moving on to another storyline because you have to have those things, and so you can tell guys stories the right way. And I think that's what drew me to TV was I didn't feel like my story was handled with the proper care that I handle the stories that I cover. Mm-hmm. So when I got in, I was like, I'm going to make sure I do it right to where the younger version of me from 2012, 13, 14 would be proud of the way that I'm doing the broadcast game. And that's really been an inspiration for me to tell people's story the right way. And I don't know if I know everyone doesn't do it the right way, and that's unfortunate.
I'm glad you bring that up because we want to get into more of your story. It's perfect.
Let's do
All
it.
right, so in 2020, why were you still trying to play football?
Oh, man. I think all players struggle with when's the right time to retire.
I agree with you on that.
So, it's all I knew. I was a husband, a father. I knew those things, and I was a football player. And I think someone has to physically tell you no more. That's why I was continuing to try to play.
7 seasons, all types of awards, rookie of the year. Took your team to the playoffs as a rookie. Do you feel like your career was validated? Did you still feel like you had to prove something by trying to come back or keep playing?
Ooh, that's a deep question. I will say 8 seasons. Give me that year back.
Oh, sorry.
Give me that year back. I'm fighting for all of them.
I apologize. 8 seasons.
That is a true.
I'm fighting
that is a true.
Fighting for every
True
one of them.
NFL statement right there. We want all them years.
I want every single
There
one
have
of
been plenty
them.
of times where people's like, oh yeah, 12-year vet. I was like, I played 13.
Yeah.
So I get it. I apologize.
If a guy was like, oh, I'll he played 4. He's like, bro, I have 5. All right. that IR year counts.
Yeah.
I want all them years. Go ahead.
So to answer the question, because my career started off at such a high.
Yeah.
And getting hurt, I think there was always this piece of me that wanted to come back from everything that was stacked against me injury-wise or whatever to prove to myself that I didn't give up. I think the people in life who find success are the ones that don't quit. Mm-hmm. You've heard the stories about Jeff Bezos and how so many different companies told him no, no, no. And then eventually the one that told him yes, and now he's one of the richest men in the world. So I just wanted to go through my career after getting hurt at the end of my rookie year and then coming back and not being myself in 13 and then in 14 getting hurt again. And then in 15, not playing the entire year. Then 16 going to Cleveland, getting hurt again. 17 being out of the league. 18 coming in as the 4th quarterback in Baltimore. And many people are like, why would you do that?
Yeah. You went from like the number 2 overall. They're like, why are you just filling the roster?
Just from a pride perspective, like, why would you go and be the 4th quarterback in Baltimore? And I said, well, I just had to prove it to myself that I could do it. And in 2018, I got literally no reps in training camp because John Harbaugh, Marty Morningwig, they all felt like, yeah, he's a vet. He knows what he's doing. What they didn't realize is I hadn't really played a lot of football up until that point. So I was staying after practice, doing all that stuff. And they called me before the first game. We had the Hall of Fame game that year. They said, you're starting. I said, no problem. I went out and I started. I balled out, threw a touchdown. They came back to me in the third preseason game, which is the game where the starters play. They held out Joe Flacco, who was a starter at the time, and they said, you're starting. I hadn't gotten a rep in 2 weeks. Went out against the Dolphins, balled out, threw a couple touchdowns, played well, and made the roster and made them keep 3 quarterbacks for the first time in a decade. So for me, it was like, this isn't about the people who say, why wouldn't you do it? This is about me saying, I know I can do it. I know I can overcome the things in my life that maybe some people say aren't fair. But listen, you get to play football for a living. You get to play a kid's game for a king's ransom. How is that unfair? So I think it's just perspective for me. I wanted to prove to myself that I could overcome anything that was in my way. And I think it's helped me in the broadcast game as well. And it's helped me in life. And I want my kids to know that, like, yes, daddy was way up here and outselling Messi in jerseys as a rookie. But guess what? It didn't all go the way that I thought it would go, that we thought it would go. But daddy still overcame.
Well, it sounds like you kept the receipts since you can tell us that you sold more jerseys than Messi. And I'm not mad. 2013, your rookie year. I'll just be honest. You guys completely on us in New Orleans. You beat the crap out of us. Spagnuolo's defense was...
It's not hard to do.
We were terrible that year. That was a year. Peyton was suspended. Greg Williams is suspended indefinitely. He was gone. GM's out. No excuses. Bottom line is, what an amazing game plan and year that was in Washington.
Yeah.
For preseason, you guys didn't show anything.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you come into the first game. Dude, we had no idea what half the stuff you guys were doing
Wait,
out
what
there.
year was this? What season?
It was 12.
It was 2012,
It was
sorry.
12.
Your rookie year, it was like,
Yep.
out of nowhere, we'd never seen anything that they had done the first quarter and a half.
Yeah.
We're literally in the middle of a game trying to change a whole game. Like, we don't even know what we're running. It was so outstanding for the plays you guys made.
Yeah.
The ability that you went out there, the game you had, and then you were off and running from there. So I want to give you your flowers first and foremost. Great job game planning. I have not been able to have this conversation with you. Just kind of get that emotions out of me. It's like, that was awful. But great game, great job. And just the ability, like, what confidence did that give you to go into New Orleans, beat Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, who had just won a Super Bowl, who was just coming off a season where we won, 13, 14 games the year before.
Yeah.
It was a great team that you guys beat. And I just want to give you your flowers. And what did that do for your confidence and that team's confidence, I'm sure?
No, I appreciate that. And what was the year that you guys won? That was
2015.
No. 2009, we won the Super Bowl.
2009. 10 was a
Saints.
suspension year?
No,
11.
So that was the year. So 11, we won 13 games. We won like 8 or 9 straight. We lost to the 49ers on the last second play to Vernon Davis. And then you came in. So,
like, you talk about radio, and it's like, well, let's paint the full picture. That was when the suspended guys got back. It was the first game when the suspended guys all got back. So we're in the Superdome. My family's from New Orleans, Louisiana. Mom and dad both born and raised. I've got 100 family members in the stands. I'm on the field before the game, and the band is playing. One of the local college bands is out there playing, pumping us up. I've probably never been more hype in a pregame in my life, knowing that my family's going to get to watch me go up against the New Orleans Saints when I used to go to Saints games as a kid. And I knew you guys were dynamic, but we struggled in the preseason really on purpose because we didn't want to show anybody anything that what we were doing.
It totally worked.
So we get out there, the Who Dat chants to start the game, loudest stadium I've ever been in. I played in Lambeau, I played in Seattle, played in all these places, loudest it's ever been. And after the game, because we went out there and we played so well and we were able to knock you guys off, I do believe that game and the way we shocked you guys impacted y'all's whole season.
1,000%. We were terrible that year.
And you talk about that confidence that you go into it with. No, I don't think anyone believed in that preseason in 2012. But they believed after that Saints game.
Yeah, I watched you. We watched you guys in preseason. You weren't good, and then you came out and did everything completely different. We were shell shocked.
Yeah,
and I can't give you guys enough credit for your calmness and poise in that game. You had a couple great throws. It was awesome, but I just want to give you your flowers.
I appreciate that, but what people don't realize about that is they have this glamorous view of 2012. We were 3-6. We beat you guys, but then we went pretty sideways for 8 games after that.
I don't think most people realize that.
They don't realize that. We won 7 straight to finish the year. So even though I had played well early in the year, we weren't playing well. And something clicked after the bye week when we came back. And I think even for myself, I started playing better on third downs and in the red zone because although my numbers were good, I wasn't playing situational football that well. And I had to make that decision at the bye week, like, how are we going to get this figured out? And I think for me, that was the biggest turning point for myself. And our defense just became super opportunistic. D Hall was catching interceptions. Madu Williams, you remember him, that safety. So we just kind of turned that thing around a little bit. But that Saints game was big to show them what could be, especially against a team like yourself.
What was the biggest difference being the leader on your college team and then being a leader of an NFL team?
Well, I had London Fletcher next to me in the locker room, or should I say I was next to London Fletcher in the locker room. And you in college, you're growing into becoming a man with your homeboys, right? You come in, same class. In the NFL, like, it'd be like me coming to be on your team.
Right. And
you got a wife and kids. And if you miss this throw, you taking food off my family's plate. That's not what it is what it was in college, at least when I was coming up. So to have London Fletcher, Santana Moss, with Chris Cooley at tight end, you got offensive linemen that might only have 1 or 2 years left, so they don't have time to wait for the rookie to figure it out. I think that was the biggest difference because now you're 22 having to lead some guys that are upwards of 35, 36 years old. And that is a very different lifestyle.
1,000%.
Different lifestyle, different generations, different thoughts and ways of thinking.
I would like to know this. Have you actually looked at or thought about your journey and how you're kind of not the first wave, but like that second wave of the way we look at quarterbacks and like the transition of what all quarterbacks are able to do now?
Yeah, it's just simply put, myself, Cam, Colin Kaepernick, we were like
Russell,
100%, and Russell's still doing it. We were like 5 years too early. But if it wasn't for guys like ourselves, then the new batch of guys wouldn't have gotten the opportunities.
Well, I was going to say, like, at least you got some of the RPO or option looking things. Mike Vick had straight drop back.
They were not protecting him.
You know what I mean? So
they were not protecting Randall Cunningham.
Versus now, it's like way more wide open, college looking. So like you guys were start of that part of it.
Well, there's this
second way.
There's this fundamental belief, or there was, should I say? I don't know if it might be, shrinking a little bit, but there was a fundamental belief that you cannot run college concepts in the NFL. I'm sure y'all coaches say, this ain't college. This is the NFL. This is how we do it here. Now, every single NFL offense has 50%, maybe even 60% college element style plays in them. And I think that was ego. I think there's been a little bit of an ego death when it comes to the coaches and how they approach the game. So yes, when we did RPOs and we did all those different things, it was almost like the NFL in its entirety was against it. I wasn't getting protected. After we beat you guys, we went and played Cincinnati Bengals, and Michael Johnson and Carlos Dunlap and them boys, they hit me every single time we did a zone read.
Yeah, just go hit the quarterback.
Not even if I didn't have the ball. They was hitting me 15, 20 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. I'm running away from them like, I don't got it. And the refs wouldn't protect us. But now, with the way the rules are, it's much easier to be an RPO dual threat quarterback because you're protected everywhere on the field pretty much. So I think for me, when I came in, I had Mike Shanahan was my head coach. Kyle Shanahan was the OC. That there's the stories of all the different coaches that were on that team, but they wanted to build a system that was within their system that they knew a dual threat quarterback like myself could run. So they downloaded every single play I ever ran at Baylor, and they put it into their offense within a way of, how can we run this in a West Coast system? The only thing I think they did wrong was they never brought in any of my college coaches to teach them how to run it, how to protect the quarterback when you're doing those different things. Today's offenses, they're having meetings with college coaches every week.
Yeah.
They have people on those staffs that they meet with weekly just so they can pull those concepts and say, okay, well, this is the NFL. We have to protect the quarterback better than you do in college. How can we do that?
Do you think that was pride for them not to go to a college coach and say, hey, can you teach me the ins and outs of this play?
Oh, 100% it was pride. It's pride and ego. And I don't say it necessarily in a bad way. I say it in the way of, you know how hard it is for a college coach to get to the NFL? So that symbiotic relationship or non-symbiotic relationship, they're not trying to make the college coach feel like he knows better than the NFL coach. That NFL coaching fraternity is so difficult to break into. We've talked about it with the lack of black head coaches in the NFL. So I think it was pride and ego to say, we can figure it out on our own because we know how to do it up here.
Yeah.
And I think if myself and some of those other dual threat guys were 5 years later, that mindset would have been different. And they would have learned how to run those types of systems and protect your quarterback from injury.
All right. So I want to know some other things that you're doing. Podcast space. We talked about some of your early fireball heater to start this whole thing off.
Straight heat.
How has the podcast space allowed you to be more of yourself versus what you do in the booth? Because ultimately, when it's your own podcast, dude, you know, you get a lot more comfortable. You're not on the clock like you are inside the booth.
Yeah. I think, you know, I like to be genuinely and authentic myself in every space. Can that look different in different, you know, parts of media? Yeah. But I think the podcast is most similar to me in the booth because you have the time.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that, what you do on a podcast, on a studio show, when you've got 3-4 other teammates that you're sharing time with and you have to pass the ball. So for me, the podcast is still a place to explore, you know, the broader topics in sports, you know, about life. You know, my wife is my co-host, and everybody's like, oh, why you just make your wife your co-host as well? She's the record holder at Florida State in heptathlon. All right, she's the greatest heptathlete in Estonian history. So when you talk about knowing sport, knowing track and field, we don't just cover football. We cover basketball, tennis, golf, soccer, or football as they call it. We cover track and field. So to have that wealth of knowledge, especially from a female's perspective, is something that I valued. And I wanted to be a part of that. So the podcast game, I feel like everybody has a podcast now. And the issue is, how do you break through in a podcast? Well, there's guest-driven podcasts, there's drama-filled podcasts, there's gossip podcasts. And I won't lie, it's difficult to make a podcast that is not toxic. But I just recently heard, was it Doc Rivers' son, you know, say that he wasn't going to do podcasts anymore because the podcast space is too toxic. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, because that stuff gets clicks. It gets people to pay attention to your podcast. And I can say all the greatest things in the world about giving back to the community and the things that are going on and our foundation, you know, helping in food insecurity. But as soon as you say that one thing about this person and that person, boom, there go the clicks. And I think that's addicting for a lot of people. I think me and my wife have learned, you know, how to stay away from those things and still have a successful podcast and build something that you're actually proud of.
Has it ever drawn conflict between you and your wife?
It has not.
Okay.
You know, they say if you build a house together, you know, it's like just like getting ready to get divorced. We built a house together and didn't get divorced. Yeah. So like, we know how to work together. We know how to communicate the right ways and have those conversations. The issue that some people have on podcasts, which I don't think you guys have it.
Well, thank you.
Right?
We're not married.
You're not married.
We're work wives.
I think you guys work well
Definitely
together.
not married.
But the problem is everybody feels like they got to be on one side or the other. And it's like, well, we can be on the same side and still have different perspectives. But it doesn't have to be LeBron is the greatest of all time or LeBron is the worst of all time, right? You can feel like Jordan is the greatest of all time and LeBron is second best, and you can explain your side without tearing down the other person.
Yeah.
I think in the podcast space, especially when you get shows that have multiple hosts, they always feel like they have to argue the other side because that's what the audience wants them to do. Me and my wife pride ourselves in making content that we're proud of, content that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And if we don't enjoy it, we stop making it. And we've made those decisions over the past couple of years of like, hey, this got a lot of clicks, but I don't really like how that makes you be positioned or how that looks in the grand scheme. And that's something that I'm super proud of because we can have that open conversation and say it's not just about the clicks and the views. It's about what our kids are going to say 10 years from now when they go through the archives.
Right.
That we want them to be proud of what we produce.
Are you proud of what we produce? I never asked you that. You like what we produce?
You know, I don't want to make it about us right now. We'll discuss this off camera. All right.
See how he just shut me down? He shut me down off camera.
Okay.
That's a true work wife statement.
No
right
doubt.
there.
You see the hands?
Just
Like,
go
we'll
shut this.
discuss that
It's like,
off
damn,
camera,
bro.
please.
Man,
And, all right.
Why?
So, two
What did I
things. Two things.
that is terrible.
Number one, you brought up that discussion like you're a LeBron guy. You know, whether he's the GOAT or not, that's up to you. I'll let you and your wife discuss that. I have a different opinion. And the other thing is that with your wife and yourself being such great athletes, you being a track athlete as well. Like, are your kids athletes? Are your daughters athletes? And
That's
how
three
like
questions.
how intense is that?
Just three
'Cause
questions.
that's a real thing.
That's a triple
Triple
question.
question. Triple
I
question.
Well, the Kobe
compound,
LeBron.
but
I mean,
goddamn.
LeBron thing is like
triple
a.
question. I'm not a LeBron. I am not a LeBron guy, but I'm a Michael Jordan kid.
Yeah.
I grew up on Who Wants to Be Like Mike.
Yeah.
So Michael Jordan is the greatest in my opinion, and we can go through all the stats that say that.
It's fine. You can
Jordan's
leave
the
that.
greatest. Second thing, I'm the second best athlete in the family.
Oh, yeah.
My wife is by far the best. Being a heptathlete, doing all the different events. She actually taught me how to throw javelin. So that was pretty fun. Totally different than throwing a football, by the way. And so our kids, listen, they do everything. They do tennis. You know, our 8-year-old Gloria is at a tennis academy. Believe it or not, her 6-year-old just joined the same tennis academy with her. So 2 years before she ever joined, the 6-year-old's already in. Our 3-year-old, you know, she's just running around having fun, doing everything. And our 10-year-old is a soccer player. So we got soccer, basketball, flag football. Gloria is on an 8U 7v7 team in our organization. She's the only girl on the team, and she was the only girl at a tournament this past week that we went to. And she plays offense. She starts at nickel.
Nice.
On defense, and she's a starting receiver, you know, on the offensive side of the ball. So we like to have them play as much as they want to and do every sport so they can grow and develop. But I think they get their athleticism from their mama.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. The Indianapolis Colts called Phillip Rivers toward the end of the season.
Yes, sir.
Phillip ain't played in
What a laugh.
Phillip ain't
It's off
played
a
in a
name.
minute.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
I know where this is going.
Well, first off, let me ask you: were you offended that you didn't get the call?
I wasn't offended.
Because I know Cam said something like,
Cam was offended.
Cam was
because
offended.
Cam's going to be offended about everything.
Yeah.
Cam is doing his dangness to be the creator
Yeah.
and the YouTube guy. He's
He-
admitted it.
He's admitted it. He's
has
like,
admitted-
dude, I'm a
he said,
YouTuber.
I'm a YouTuber, and he's going down
Yes.
that route. I'm a human being. I'm not going to
Yes.
kind of do
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
those
yes.
things. But Cam was offended. I was not offended because I understood the relationship. Now, did I go outside and, you know, throw the football around a little bit? Wait, just in case? Yes, sir, I did.
now, if they really would have called you,
Yes,
hey, you ready? We need you to come play week 16.
correct.
Do you think you could have been ready to go?
100%. If a team called me, like the Colts were in playoff contention.
Yep.
They needed to win, I think, one game to put themselves in the playoffs. 100% I could have done that. I think I'm 35, so I'm not as old as Phillip is. He's what, 44?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives me hope. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw him, I'm like, man, I might have to just like lightly,
his whole body
train.
changed, bro.
Like, he came in overweight. Like, let's just call it what it was.
Yeah.
Hey, my man was big. The reporter asked him how much he weighed. He said, "Well, I don't weigh what I did when I left."
Clearly.
So it gave me hope because you look at Brady and how he played, but Brady did it continuously.
Right.
Phillip Rivers probably gave more quarterbacks hope that they could come back and play because he did it. He was out of shape, hadn't been working out, and hadn't played in 5 years?
Yeah.
So like for me, I'm 35. As long as I stay in somewhat running shape, I'm going to be around football. I'm going to throw the football around. I got a good 8 more years. They might call me up. What I wouldn't take is an opportunity on a team that's not in contention. If a team called me in the offseason, everyone's in contention in the offseason. I'd pick up that phone and I would certainly entertain it just because I love football, and as long as these guys are getting these opportunities in their 40s, why not? Who would I be to say no,
I agree.
Could you do a practice? Do you think your body will hold up in a football practice or NFL practice? Like just legit, a straight up 2-hour practice?
I'm not even going to pretend like I'm ready for that. Dude, I'll be like behind somebody like laying down.
My man got his legs crossed right here. This is not I'm ready to go practice.
No, that's not the look, dude. Like, no, I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm about that life anymore. I'm not. I heard the best story ever from Mike Vick yesterday.
Okay.
And Mike said he just rolled out the bed, thought he was just gonna go run a 40.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
I was there.
And he was like, dude, next thing you know, like I pulled my hammy and was like hurt for like, I had to get treatment for like weeks.
Yes.
I was like,
yes, he did.
He was like, dude, it's just not like that. And he's right. I can't just roll out there and think I'm going to be able to, I'll be done. My whole left side might shut down. When was
the last time
I ran hard?
You ran full speed, just say 40 yards, 100 yards, whatever.
I did
a dog chasing you.
Just like 3 months ago, I was running with my kids in a park and I was trying to show them how to accelerate.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with a light stride for the first 10, 15. Then I want you to burst, hold it for 40. And then we're going to finish it off at like 80, 100 yards.
Okay.
The last 20, just kind of cruise it off at that cone.
How was that? How'd that go?
They were like, well, they thought they were bursting, but there's no real change of speed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to have change of speed. They were like, what do you mean, Dad? Because I tell my kids all the time, like, look, you can get a track coach, but track coach can't really teach you how to run fast.
No.
They can teach you how to run better.
Correct.
More efficient.
Correct.
But fast people just run fast.
Ooh,
and you got to just treat it like, what are you going to do when that dog busts out the gate and you got to run from a dog?
you ain't going to go like this.
No. Yeah. My daughter was like, well, Dad, why would I run from a dog? I'm like, see, this is the difference.
Ooh.
That's the generation. They're not running from dogs.
It's the area. You live in a nice area.
He lives in.
He lives in a nice area.
It's my fault.
Dad, why would I run away from Pookie?
Why would I be running from the dog, Dad? I'm like, that's exactly the problem. So I got out there. I ran it for them. And my kids, when I was done, I turned around like, so you see how it is? And my son had his mouth open like, he's like, Dad, you like fast.
Oh, like, that made you feel good, didn't it?
It did make me feel good.
Look at that.
Because he does not give compliments. So, yeah, I still got that.
Okay.
If it's in there, I can still bust it out. I'm not ready. If I ran a 4.7 something, I'd probably be really disappointed in myself. But
I think both of y'all could, one game, I wouldn't put it past you.
I need some time, though. I need like some
Eric
warm-up.
Weddle did it. Remember, he was retired.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Came back. One game. I promise you, despite the age and how, I promise you can play one game.
You're probably right about that.
You could play one game. You at halftime, you might have all the Ben Gay in the world on your legs.
Everything.
But I think you can play one game.
Okay. As time progresses, how do you feel that you will possibly be known more about your podcasting and your broadcast career more than your actual football career?
What you go through in life is the ebbs and flows of notoriety, right? So as a player, I'll always be known as one of the biggest what ifs in NFL history. I'm aware of that because of how well I started as a rookie. I'll always be known as having one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. But the longer you're in the spotlight, the more that can change and morph and turn into different things. The example I like to use is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I know him as The Rock. because I grew up on him in WWF before it was WWE.
Yes.
Right. And the rock bottom and the people's elbow and jabroni. But there's a generation of children now that only know him from the Fast and the Furious or the Tooth Fairy. Jumanji, right? They know him as the actor. So I think in life, you want to be able to make an impact in multiple different areas. So as a football player, I made that impact. Heisman Trophy winner, was able to do a lot of great things at Baylor, Coppers Cove High School, going to 2 state championships, NFL, Rookie of the Year, Pro Bowler, all those things. And then it's like, well, what's next? Because the majority of our lives, we're going to spend it off the football field.
Right.
So now as a broadcaster, it's like, okay, how can I be the best broadcaster I can possibly be? How can I be the best person in my own community in Houston, Texas right now, which is where we live at? So that doesn't affect me because I found my next passion. And I want that for all former players. Sometimes they don't ever find it. And they find themselves lost. So I'm not lost. And I really give my faith and my family the biggest credit when it comes to that. Knowing what my purpose is, and my purpose on this earth is to give back. Whether it's giving back through storytelling, giving back by giving back to the community, helping the next generation get to where they want to go, and then, of course, raising my family. So I'm not hurt by that. I think it's a great thing.
Okay.
There's going to be people who are like, there's 20-year-olds right now that know me as, oh my goodness, you're RG3 from Washington. And there's other ones that know me from, man, you're the broadcaster that you have so much fun in the booth.
Yeah.
That's okay with me.
Okay.
I got nothing else, man. I appreciate you coming on the pod and just blessing us and telling us some stories. And it's always good to, reconnect whenever you come around. We get to kick it and we see each other. Glad you came on, showed us some love. We appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys. You guys do a great job.
No doubt, man. Appreciate it, man. And you're a Heisman Trophy winner, so you'll always be known as that, in my opinion.
I appreciate that, man.
I know the broadcast thing's great, but you're a Heisman, so.
That is
Congrats.
one thing that is one thing that you never know. We don't know where podcasting's going.
Yeah.
That Heisman Trophy is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That those records as an NFL quarterback aren't going anywhere. And neither is God. So you just trust God in the next journey. You guys are doing it. I'm proud to be on the show with you.
Man, thanks for being here, man. All right, anywhere you pick up your podcast at, whether it's Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, make sure you always tune in, like, subscribe, follow. Tell a friend to do what, Peanut?
Tell a friend.
There we go. Check us out, man. And you can also check us out on the NFL's YouTube channel.
Or page. I'm Peanut. That's Roman. That's RG3. And this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. We out.